This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, about 80 bus drivers protest about lengthy delays in their promised pay rise. The future of Dunedin's George Street is to be debated by city councillors. And a fire-damaged building in South Dunedin is to make way for a 3-storey office and retail block. Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, ko Melissa Barton, aho. Several dozen bus drivers protested in Dunedin's bus hub yesterday, demanding the pay rise and back pay they were promised over a year ago. While a few of the drivers have been paid, most of the 80 or so drivers are still waiting for what is, in many cases, thousands of dollars in back pay.
Over a year ago, the Otago Regional Council promised about 80 Dunedin and Queenstown Ore bus drivers that they would receive the living wage of $22.10 an hour. But Dunedin Tramways Union President Alan Saville says for many drivers, the pay increase and back pay still haven't come through.
For the last 64 weeks, our bus drivers have been going home and telling their families, sorry guys, we haven't got it yet.
After 15 months of waiting, the council is still not able to give a date on when the increase might happen. But Saville says implementing the changes should be a simple process.
There are only about 80 of us, there's not that many, and like I say, our audit team say it's just a few keystrokes on a computer. So we don't know why it hasn't happened. We're not in the game of apportioning blame or trying to find fault.
Drivers of Ritchie's buses are already being paid the living wage and have received their back pay, but Go Bus drivers are still waiting.
The Ritchie's drivers, yes, have received most of their back pay, but the Go Bus drivers have not received either the back pay or the increase to living wage in their weekly pay packets.
3 weeks ago, the ORC said that Ritchie's drivers have already been paid because the council has a contract with Ritchie's. But contract discussions between Go Bus and the council are yet to be concluded. In Dunedin, The South Today.
Police say the mystery package which caused a Dunedin building to be evacuated yesterday did not contain items that were of any concern. Police cordoned off a Department of Corrections office building on Lower Stewart Street for most of yesterday after a suspicious item was found on the premises. The building was also evacuated as a precaution. Police say the package was examined by the New Zealand Defence Force Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team. The specialist team found the parcel did not contain items that were of any concern. An investigation into the circumstances of the incident is ongoing. Dunedin City Councillors are set to decide next week on their favoured option for the remodelling of George Street. Next Tuesday, councillors will debate the future of the city's main shopping street, with car movement no longer likely to be the primary function. Instead, more space for pedestrians, play equipment, street furniture and bike parks could feature in the revamp. Two of the options would see the road reduced to a narrow 3-metre wide lane for either one-way or two-way traffic. Most options will see motorists having to proceed with caution and at slow speeds, not unlike at St Clair Esplanade. Another likely option for Tuesday's debate is that the council would decide to stay with the status quo and do the bare minimum. Work on demolishing several buildings in South Dunedin to make way for a new build could start before Christmas. The property developer behind the initiative says he's hoping to have a 3-storey office and retail space open by the end of next year.
South Dunedin's shopping precinct is set to get a boost thanks to property developer Justin Stott's plans to demolish the old fire-damaged Wolfton and Russell clothing store plus neighbouring buildings to make way for a modern retail space.
You know, King Edward Street's been a bit depressed for a while, has been affected by floods and just really hasn't had much investment. But it's a prime site, you know, there's 12,000 cars go past here every day. So, yeah, we think it's a great opportunity to put a nice new building, give the people of South Dunedin, you know, a nice new building and be a great space for Dunedin business.
Stott is planning to create a new 3-storey building with 3,000 square metres of offices in the upper 2 floors and car parks and retail space on ground level.
With 2 floors of offices, be attractive for retailers to be beneath those offices, and you know, it's going to be a nice new building. It's going to be a great place to have a business.
Stott says he hopes to salvage materials from the original buildings and incorporate them into the new construction, and he'll also retain one of the neighbouring sites as a heritage building.
The South City Chinese restaurant, we plan to refurbish that one as a heritage building. It's got some really nice features, and we thought it'd be nice to have a mix of old and new in the block. Demolition
may start in the next few months, with the new building possibly ready by the end of next year. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, Alexandra's Elim Church is demolished for a new development. And we talk with an expert about how safe journalists are from threats of violence in New Zealand and abroad. So catch this and more after the break.
Season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Set your clock forward this weekend for my mate John's Daylight Savings. Spring has sprung and it's time to spruce up that tired old furniture. Time to see the friendly team at John's Furniture Warehouse and time to save yourself heaps. Daylight Savings on now at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street.
Where did you get that furniture from? Stafford Street. And my mate John.
Welcome back. The former Elim Church in Alexandra on Tarbert Street was demolished 2 weeks ago to make way for a new development. The building had been home to the church for more than a decade. It was sold in January, with the church having bought a building in Napara Street with plans to renovate it. In the meantime, members of the Elim Church are holding Sunday services in the Alexandra Memorial Hall. University of Otago academic Dr. Brett Nichols says New Zealand ranks among the top 10 safest places in the world to be a journalist. But the media expert says that journalism in other parts of the world can be a very dangerous job. The South Today spoke with him in a recent Zoom call.
Kia ora, Brett. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
For viewers who might not know, you head the Department of Media, Film and Communication Studies at the University of Otago, with one of your specialist topics being violence against the media. How much of a problem is this?
Well, I mean, in a broader sense, violence against journalism has always been a problem. I mean, it's useful to think about violence against journalism in two sorts of ways. One is to think of it in terms of what sociologists like to call the difference between soft power and hard power. So how hard power would be where the state intimidates journalists, threatens them and so on. And historically, of course, you could argue that journalism is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, really. The state intimidates journalists, and it usually, particularly political journalists, and it usually happens in situations where, you know, there is an authoritarian form of government. We're also seeing a rise in online threats against journalists as well. There are forms of abuse on social media platforms and things like that. And that is happening particularly against women journalists and LGBTQI journalists.
Globally, where's the issue the worst?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from a perspective of hard power, you look at organisations like Reporters Without Borders, who I've had a little bit to do with. It's in authoritarian countries. So in the World Press Freedom Index, which is put out by the Reporters Without Borders, it'd be places like, you know, North Korea, China, Saudi Arabia, Singapore. You know, those kinds of countries are actually ranked right at the bottom. New Zealand does pretty well. It's in the top 10 on the latest index, in the 2021 index. In terms of recent developments, probably there's a lot of stuff coming out of Afghanistan at the moment from journalists, with the Taliban seizing control.
Would you know how many journalists have been, camera operators, etc., have been assaulted and or killed in recent years?
As far as things like camera operators and reporters being assaulted, well, you know, we all saw the images from the January 6th insurrection in the US, you know, where MAGA supporters were smashing up cameras and so on. So, you know, these are examples of that happening. That seems to be on the rise. Yes.
What do you think is causing this?
That's a really good question. It's difficult. It's quite difficult. It's probably caused by lots of different reasons. Some of the recent studies have been focusing on things like abuse of journalists online and things like that. So that would be, you know, the argument there goes that it comes from, I guess you'd call it a rise in you know, nationalist, conservative forms of politics, anti-democratic forms of politics. For example, Trump would signal to you know, MAGA supporters through terms like fake news, fake media, and all of those kinds of terms. And so it seems like demonising a journalist has become a part of the political kind of landscape at the moment, which is a real kind of concerning issue. There's a recent case in the Netherlands, actually, where journalists were attacked by protesters, conservative anti-vaxxer type sort of protesters in the Netherlands. So it's certainly on the rise.
We can seem pretty sheltered here in New Zealand. How's it for our journalists on the street?
One of the big issues for journalism in New Zealand that's beginning to emerge is the sort of problem of access to information through things like the Official Information Act. You know, there's been some recent journalists have recently been saying that there seems to be a sort of a delaying tactic which hinders the operation of journalists. So I think that's a problem in New Zealand. The other thing, and the reason why New Zealand doesn't get to the top of the table, the league tables in the sort of media freedom indexes, and why it's only in the bottom of the top 10, is for two reasons. One is because media diversity is a problem in New Zealand.
As a society, what can we do about this?
Well, I think there's some really active and positive things that we can do. Well, we could challenge the merger of TVNZ and Radio New Zealand. I think this is a terrible idea, particularly in the interests of something like media diversity. The state should be doing its best to ensure that we have more and more independent channels for journalism. So this is a terrible idea that's driven by the demands of marketers and so on. I think we should write to your local member to say that we don't want that.
Indeed, yeah. As a professional journalist, we at Allied Press, like everybody else, we are governed by, in broadcast, the BSA, and in print, the Press Council. But in social media, there's nothing.
No, that's right. And it's part of the logic. I mean, if we wanted to, really drill down into the issue here, it's part of this strange kind of idea that the market is the best mechanism for, regulating content and so on, right? Of course, as we know, this is a terrible 18th century idea that is completely outdated now, and yet, the damage that it has actually wrought, we're suffering the effects from that through things like that, I think.
Dr. Brett Nichols, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Still to come on the South today, the Otago Polytechnic launches an exciting new wine industry course to its Cromwell campus, and we find out who's in for snow during the chilly blast forecast across the South on Sunday. So see you after the break.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Set your clock forward this weekend for My Mate John's Daylight Savings. Spring has sprung and it's time to save yourself heaps.
And my mate John.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
More!
Thanks for staying with us. Otago Polytechnic is introducing a new program to its Cromwell campus for next year. The course will be taught at the Central Otago campus, which already teaches subjects such as beer brewing. Students will complete off-site and workplace learning in one of the most renowned winemaking regions of New Zealand. The new course will specialise in commercial wine cellar operations and is designed for people either working in a winery at an entry level or wanting to enter the wine industry. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. About 80 bus drivers protested about delays over a year for their promised pay rise. The future of Dunedin's George Street is to be debated by city councillors. And a fire-damaged building in South Dunedin is to make way for a 3-storey office and retail block. And now it's time for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Craig Page.
Good evening. Saturday papers are always plenty of reading. Something for everyone, I think we say.
It is too.
Look, we've got a story about the Terrace Airport, and of course that was highlighted middle of last year, where there was announced Christchurch International Airport had plans to build a new airport there. Today they've unveiled some more plans, their runway alignment options, 2 options, but unfortunately with either of them, either Cromwell or Hawea flat is going to end up in the flight path, so there'll be some unhappy residents there, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some protest to that.
Yeah, I mean it did seem quite a strange announcement back there, but the Christchurch Airport had spent several months buying up all the land and claims it has all the land it needs for this airport as well. So the 2 runways, they're trying to achieve a minimum of 2.3 kilometres with both of the runways and a maximum of 3 kilometres, and both of these options apparently achieve that. So we've spoken to locals up there, and a lot of them not saying too much really until they get more detailed reports about what the plan is and when. Of course, Queenstown Mayor Jim Bolt has been quite vocal in his opposition of it and continues that tomorrow, saying he doesn't want a bar of it in his neck of the woods. So yeah, it's going to be interesting over coming years to see where that goes. Vaccination buses hit the streets of Dunedin. Te Kaika has established the bus, and it's going to be heading out to suburbs in Dunedin and Mosgiel, really to try and help lift vaccination rates in the city. They're saying a lot of people, particularly in the lower socio-economic background, can't get away from work to go and get their vaccinations. So the plan is to take the vaccinations to them. So great idea, and they want to aim to see 90% of the population vaccinated. It's going to be outside the farmers market tomorrow, so if you're popping in some fresh bread, get your vaccine as well.
Nice.
Yeah, weekend mix. The importance of peat is what it's all about, not just for growing seedlings, but it's also a vital part of the environment. So I guess after reading that you won't look at your potting mix the same way again. So, and plenty of sport as well. Silver Ferns playing England tonight in the big decider netball game. We'll have full coverage of that. And lots of rugby. The All Blacks against the Springboks. The Highlanders, we've got an announcement of a new player for them, and it's a face from back in the day who's coming back to play for the Highlanders.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. And Otago Boys as well. I've got their big South Island rugby final against Nelson Boys at the stadium tomorrow, so we wish them all the best.
Great, and good luck for everyone tomorrow. And now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Looking at the situation, there may be some thunderstorms inland at first tomorrow with a risk of near gale force winds, but the weather should start easing during the day. There's snow showers to 300 metres inland on Sunday, which will clear, but look out for frosts early next week. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, it's a wet start to the weekend with rain for both Westport and Greymouth with a high of 14 degrees. Moving to the northeast, the wet weather continues here for Nelson and Blenheim, both with a high of 18 degrees, and Blenheim can expect a few showers throughout the day. Heading to Canterbury, Kaikoura and Ashburton can look forward to a sunny day with 18 degrees for Kaikoura and Ashburton on 17 degrees. Christchurch reaches 19 degrees with scattered showers throughout the day. Looking at the southern towns, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore can all expect a wet, windy start to the weekend with strong westerly showers and a high of 13 or 14 degrees. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes, Wanaka, Queenstown and Alexandra are all in for decreasing northwesterlies with rain clearing and a high of 14 degrees. Te Anau can expect strong westerlies with showers and a high of 13. Looking at what's in store for the northern towns, Timaru and Oamaru can expect strong northwesterlies, brief rain. Timaru reaches 18 degrees, Oamaru 16 degrees. Further inland at Twizel and Amarama, there will be strong northwesterlies with rain clearing and a high of 15 degrees. In Dunedin, it will be mostly fine tonight with a few gusty northerlies and an overnight low of 11 degrees. Tomorrow morning sees strong northwesterlies with some rain spreading off the western ranges, which will then start clearing during the afternoon, and some sunny periods start developing with strong cooler westerlies decreasing. A high of 16 and a low of 8. And it's going to be cloudy on Sunday with showers and fresh cold southwesterlies. Showers will start clearing later in the day with winds easing, looking at a high of 11 and a low of 5. And in Invercargill, expect some rain tonight with strong northwesterlies and an overnight low of 9 degrees. Tomorrow it will be mostly cloudy with showers and strong gusty westerlies. Temperatures will start becoming cooler with a high of 14 and a low of 7 degrees. And watch out for wintry showers on Sunday, which may bring some hail, but clear during the day with gusty, very cold southwesterlies. Looking at a high of 10 and a low of 3 degrees. And that's all for our news for this Friday and indeed the week. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. Remember to like and subscribe to Channel 39 and Facebook and YouTube so you can receive notifications of up-to-date content. Nō reira, kia pai te pou, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.